Welcome to Biz Wire. Many issues are fanning the flames of social discontent today in China. On this show, we've talked about land seizures, residency permits, endemic corruption, and our next story deals with environmental issues. Income distribution should also be on that list, especially when wealth hasn't been earned through thrift, hard work, or skill. That government officials and executives take large amounts of gray income, that is, money in kind received off the books, is no secret to Chinese people, but the estimated totals were still eye-opening. According to research by economic scholar Wang Xiaolu, China's citizens do not report an estimated $2.3 trillion of what they earn each year. This gray income represents nearly 20% of the nation's GDP. The economist who headed the survey, Wang Xiaolu of the China Society of Economic Reform, said nearly two-thirds of that unreported income goes into the pockets of the richest 10%, widening China's already troubling wealth gap. For years, the National Statistics Bureau did not release figures for its Gini coefficient, a measure of inequality, because NSB Chairman Ma Jiantang, in a moment of candor, said there is too much unofficial income, which would distort the findings. Wang's report adds that the findings may help explain Beijing's tolerance of recent strikes in manufacturing zones and official emphasis on ensuring more equitable division of wealth. Going off Wang's survey, average per capita income for the richest 10% was 65 times that of the poorest 10%, which contrasts with the 23 times figure given by the official National Statistics Bureau's Household Income Survey. A fairer income distribution could ease social tensions and support Beijing's plan to boost domestic consumption. Strengthening the average consumer has been emphasized by economists and officials for years as a way to transition China's economy onto a more sustainable path. Evidence for a widened income gap is reflected in the sales of international companies. China accounted for 3% of sales for Volkswagen and 5% for Pepsi, while for luxury retailers like Richemont and Swatch, China was responsible for 20 and 28% of global sales, respectively. The team that did the research chose an unusual method to counter a perceived tendency, particularly among high-income families, to lie about the gray income that makes up the majority of their earnings. The survey team contacted only family, friends, and colleagues who would be more likely to tell the truth, emphasized that data would be kept anonymous, and whose answers supposedly could more easily be assessed for veracity. Reportedly, the gray income comes from sources including access to stock market IPOs, property deals, large off-the-books bonuses from state-owned firms with a monopoly on the market, as well as generous gifts to powerful officials and their relatives. Wang told the Beijing Evening News that gray money is usually closely connected to corruption, abuse of power, public investment, shares in land development projects, and other monopoly interests, all of which stokes deep-seated public resentment. Chinese people don't generally harbor hostility towards the rich who they believed earned their wealth, but skepticism is high about where and how money is actually obtained. As China's government convenes at the annual National People's Congress, which will conclude with the formal transition of leadership from Hu Jintao to Xi Jinping, tackling the widening wealth gap is high on the agenda. How much will come out of discussions remains to be seen, but an important point to keep in mind is who is being represented at the NPC. The NPC itself is home to some of China's wealthiest citizens. According to a report from Hu-Run, among the delegates gathered in Beijing, 31 have more than $1 billion in personal assets each. In addition, the Financial Times reports an additional 52 billionaires are delegates to the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, an advisory board that meets during the NPC conference. Wang's report says that unlike normal capital return, gray income usually does not help improve competitiveness or efficiency. Wang says vast amounts of gray income hampers justice, undermines economic efficiency, and becomes a major factor for social conflict and instability.